Hey there, guys. It's I Kill You here, and I've got this awesome mushroom farm design for you today. I was a little inspired by some other things I've seen other people doing lately, and I said, why shouldn't I make my own mushroom farm? So, mushrooms are great for a lot of things. Potions. They're great for um, fuel for your furnaces. Um, they make blocks that you can make patterns with, can build with. There's a lot of things you can do with mushrooms. So it's just another block that we need to be able to farm efficiently. And I'm going to give you a little scan over the machine, and it's a little crazy for just a mushroom farm, but uh, this is the kind of thing enjoy about Minecraft is doing some of the crazy stuff with redstone and that. So I'm going to kind of go over this with you. The great thing about this machine is that it both produces the big mushrooms and will produce the small mushrooms for potions, um, all automatically. As you can see, we have Podzol down, and we have a line of cedar mushrooms to spread onto the upper line of Podzol. And so when that happens, if you can get back up here, when that happens, we have these observer blocks here that detect the growth of that mushroom, which activate these dispensers here that have bone meal in them. And the bone meal will grow the mushroom. Or if the mushroom fails, which occasionally happens depending on the tick the game grows the mushroom in, um, they will be lifted up by the podzol blocks because there's pistons under them, as you can see there. And this dispenser here has water, if you can reach it, has a water bucket in it, which pushes all the items down to this end. It's ran a little bit here. Um, and that's the basis of the machine. Also has, let's go ahead and go into game mode. Um, sorry about that. Game mode 0, and just to show that it's possible. And sitting here on this half slab here that's lowered gives you the ability to reach the podzol and plant. So if you want to get big mushrooms in a hurry and chop them down, you have that ability too. Or you can just walk away from this farm and come back, and as long as your chunks are loaded, more than likely you're going to have a big mushroom to cut down. And that was really the basis on what made me decide how to build this farm, is because you know my way of chopping down trees, anything in this game, is I kind of like, just like you want to plant a sapling down, come back later and the tree be grown. That was my idea for this farm, because you can't just plant a normal mushroom down and it's gonna grow. It's just gonna sit there. It might spread, but it's not gonna grow. But with this farm, once they spread, then they're gonna be forced into growing. And or if you want to grow them automatically, all you got to do is go get your ones that haven't grown and end up in the chest at the bottom, and come up here and plant and chop down to your heart's desire. Alright, so just to show the farm in action, I'm gonna go back into, well, no, we can stay in survival. We're gonna go game rule, random, tick speed, and set that to 600. And we're gonna watch this machine work, quicker this way. There you go. See, it grew on its own. And that's how the basis of what the farm was designed by, was just the mushroom would spread and then grow. In a minute, we'll see another one spread. Even at 600, it takes a minute sometimes. But I don't know how many blocks we actually have in this chunk. It might be over 600. Don't know. Come on, mushrooms. Well, let's go ahead and go into game mode 1 and we'll try to explain some of what's happening here. So let's cut this out and then I can explain the line. So the mushroom grows, the observer detects it, right? Well, the observer outputs a pulse through this block when it's down, which its default setting is down. Oh, well, okay, that's all right. So you see its default setting is down, and so when it takes a pulse and pulses it through this block into this repeater, which in a way bud powers this, or powers the piston through the air, which has always been a weird mechanic to me, lowering the cauldron filled with water down to this comparator, which reads a signal, pushes it through this block, just as you've seen there, because another one just grew. And it'll fail because it's on top of, underneath the large mushroom. So the comparator pushes the signal through this block to these repeaters, which goes into this monostable circuit, which fires the observer into this observer, making an observer clock, which pulses both this dispenser and this block, which sends a signal out. We capture the signal, make it a lengthened pulse, make it a full pulse into here, which converts the torch to an off state, which allows this falling edge monostable circuit here to be down, so that once it comes back on, we'll get another signal through here. And the reason for that is we don't want this to fire until the bone meal has stopped trying. So once the bone meal has stopped trying, decided whether the mushroom's going to grow or not, because the mushroom does, the observer block observes whether the mushroom's going to grow or not. That state, it'll show a fail. As you can see right there, we got the signal once the bone meal was stopped. It came through here, through the pulse lengthener, which powers these torches to convert them to raise these up, so that at that very same time we get the signal that runs through there also comes to here. Now these are the torches that raise the pistons here up. That signal is brought down here to fire this line of pistons, pushing the same cauldron here into these, as you can see, pushes those into these comparators, which lift that upper set of podzol up in the air, braking and also clearing the way, which is why the mushroom at the top, you'll see here, has a block pushed up, because it pushes that line up in order to clear the way for the water to come through, pushing anything that may be left on the podzol down into our chest, like so, as you can see. Also, the water, I can't fit in there, can I? Can I fit in there anywhere? Yep, right here. Okay. The water is fired by the cauldron as well. Once the cauldron is pushed out here, as you can see, this comparator turns on, which turns off this torch. And there's also a torch on this other side. Let's work on this side first. The torch is turned off, which allows that one to fire, which converts this one. And this is a falling edge monostable as well, so once the cauldron is then retracted, this will turn back on, sending a pulse through here, and then we capture the pulse and lengthen it so that, we'll see this in a minute, this piston is risen to the top, which activates the observer block. We'll see in just a second, which fires the dispenser with the water, and we lengthen the pulse so that the piston will stay up. That way we get one tick, and then when it falls, we get a separate tick to the dispenser, turning the water back off. And I have no idea if any of that made any sense whatsoever. But yeah. Now, oh yeah, I forgot this other line here. This line here also attaches to these pistons, only these pistons at the top and not the ones at the bottom like the other line does. So we send a signal to the top to this pulse lengthener, which is a separate pulse lengthener that, aside from this one that runs the pistons the first time, the second time we get the pulse up, and this is the line we see through here. When this turns on, it automatically converts these pistons that are underneath to the off state, raising the blocks up. And then we also take power from the torch. Let's see. Yeah, from the torch. Yeah, because that's, okay, yeah. Yeah, from the torch, because the torch is under this block, so it powers this block, and get a redstone repeater coming out this way, that way it doesn't affect anything, and through this pulse lengthener, which runs out to this side because it kind of interferes with our room, but which, as it decays, is why you see these pistons raise or lower from the back all the way down to here. It's actually kind of a nifty thing because it gives the water more time to leave the system. Yep, that's the first time they raise. And actually, I don't think they actually come back down until the water's gone, the way the system works. There we go. Having these two pulse lengtheners on this set of blocks is probably the most important thing that keeps the system running. It's kind of a fail-safe. It makes sure that the pistons stay in the off state while the block is raised and also while the water, and so they have their own check. You're not going to fail. This line checks while the block is raised. You're not going to fail while I'm up. And this one checks while the water's out. No, you're not going to fail while I'm up. And so they stay up the entire time. That's one thing about redstone. If you want a system that's not going to fail, having the fail safes in place is probably your best bet all the way around. Now this line of hoppers, it's probably the last redstone bit I need to show you. If I can get in here. Oh, come on. They feed directly. Behind this is the dispensers. They feed directly into the dispensers, and these are just droppers on top. They have no purpose but to lower lag levels. And these hoppers are just straight lines running from here, and each one of them is dedicated to their own dropper, which is filled with bone meal, obviously. Now what happens back here is we have our input chest at the top, fill our bone meal up, it comes down, and the line underneath here is locked, and it stays locked until we get a bone meal into there. And now let me add some bone meal to this system, and I will show you how this works. And I'm using a trap chest, by the way, just so I could show it full. So every time we get a bone meal in this hopper, we get a comparator signal, which turns this torch off and unlocks these hoppers by depowering these blocks. And so basically you're going to get one bone meal per hopper. It unlocks, then every hopper gets one bone meal, and it disperses them evenly amongst the system, and that way you don't ever have to worry about, you don't have to have an entirely full system of bone meal all the time. You can put in 64 pieces of bone meal, come grow your let it run for a little while till it runs out, and ultimately if you just wanted to come and grow a couple mushrooms at once, just by hand, placing them by hand, you could come and down here and fill any one of these. It's going to activate the system, because sometimes they will grow in a tick that the system is resetting itself, and then it won't activate. But that's just a matter of coming back and checking on it every once in a while. For the most part, it will. But that's not going to happen too often with the game tick set to 3 like it's normally is. The likelihood of that happening is very rare. You're going to see it happen way more often when it's set up high like it is now, just to show you the system. But point is, you could come and fill these up manually if you wanted to say come grow 15 mushrooms out of this one dispenser right here. It would work. So that is the system. Hopefully it made sense when I explained it. I'm going to try to show you how to build some of the sections of this, and then I'm also going to kind of come around and let you guys see the components that are outside of the system, basically the redstone lines, and maybe so you can take screenshots. But a full block by block tutorial, this thing is going to be pretty in depth. I've already had hard enough time trying to explain my thinking anyways. These blocks aren't even necessary. I don't know why they're there. Also, guys, what you're going to need is you're going to want an axe with Silk Touch and Efficiency 5 to get your best efficiency out of farming these things. So let's give ourselves a block out here, a little ways out in the distance, and let's begin to build this thing. So we're going to need some podzol. You can also use mycelium. You can use dirt if you're going to build it underground. And you're going to basically build this right here. And temporarily put an observer there because I had it in my inventory, and we want to face it just like that. You're also going to want to go ahead and place a mushroom right there. Going to need a block and comparator, and come out like this, and you're going to need that comparator. Alright guys, we come out here, you're just going to need, you can use mycelium or podzol or dirt if you're going to do it underground, it doesn't really matter. And we're going to come down and do a block down like that with a comparator on it, and then we're going to need to come out like this with a comparator facing that direction. Underneath here we're going to have 2 redstone repeaters, and I think one of them is on full tick. Nope. 2 tick and standard tick. Put this one on 2 ticks right there. And we're also going to want to grab out a dispenser. Let's put this block right here. And we're going to put out our observer there with a block on its face. Come underneath it with a block like so. So we don't have to have that block there, it's just temporary. We have a repeater, set that to 4 ticks. We want a sticky piston like that. Then we're going to need a cauldron like that. You're going to want to take a bucket of water and fill your cauldron. You can just right click on the side of it, it's not going to spill. Now at this point, if we take a mushroom out, we'll see that it'll give us a signal out that direction. Now what we're going to want to do is we're going to need a block, and we're going to put a block there and there. And we're going to want to place an observer so that the block is facing this direction like so. We're going to build a block up like that, and we're going to come out and bring another repeater, and I believe this one's set to full tick delay with going into a block, into a block with a sticky piston on top and another observer facing that way. So if we bring our mushroom back out, There we go. There you go. And that's the simplicity of the system right there. And you could do these as wide as you want to. The only limitation we have is that mushrooms check 5 to see if there's up to 5 mushrooms around them. So once you have 5 in a linear direction, El Mango talks about that a lot. He's got a mushroom farm when he built when 1.9 came out, I believe, and he talks about that. Essentially, you can only do 4, and then you'd have to, if you were just going to do a small mushroom farm, you'd have to do a 4 brown and 4 red. And that being said, do not use red mushrooms in this farm because it will break it. Red mushrooms have a tendency of breaking blocks. But guys, this is the mechanism that actually runs the system. The other things that we have in place, and really without the other mechanisms, that there is not even necessary. So you're going to need a sticky piston facing upwards, one facing out like that. Need to bring a block up here, of which, well, we could take a signal out of. If you were just going to build one line, let's do it like that. Pulse extender. Like that. Which we face into torch. And it's going to keep trying until it gives up on the mushroom. But the mushroom can't grow. Now it gave up. That'll come on, that'll fire that, lift that up. That's at the concept where where I decided, hey, we need to raise this block up, because once this piston's up, so that's at the point you come here, you build that, and we'll turn that off. And, you know, this thing begins to get a little crazy on you, so you have to just keep trying things. And see, this didn't stay on long enough, so we build a pulse extender up here at the top. Like so. And that way, once that turns off, now it's going to stay off longer than that does. And there you go. System completely reset. That's all for one. It's not hard. The redstone's not hard. It's all a matter of setting up timing. Alright, so that one didn't grow. That's fine. Are we out of... almost out of bone meal? But that is a perfect example of why so much time has been spent, and what happens with that is we've forced the mushroom to grow up a little higher. Matter of fact, actually, in the system that we are currently using, I believe that the torch is at that level. And so the mushroom's going to have to grow one higher than that. So basically what I'm saying, guys, is that the thing that I showed you to begin with is the simple version of the farm. You can tile it as wide as you really wanted to, with the exception of the limit on the mushrooms. And all the other stuff that I built since then is resets for the system, which actually all work together no matter how many you tile. I'm sure there will be a multitude of questions if you decide to build this thing, but feel free to ask. I have no problems with you guys asking questions. This thing's been running since we left. There's already 38 mushrooms in there. And feel free to ask, leave me a comment with any questions, and I'll be glad to get back with you on it. Alright guys, it's been I Kill You here with another tutorial, and I hope you've enjoyed it. Check you out next time. Alright guys, this has been I Kill You here with another tutorial, and thanks for joining me, and we'll catch up with you next time.